Man, she's so violent.
You just ran over me! You just ran over my foot! You're tired! No, you're not! You're right here! You ran over my foot!
Don't touch me, bro.
Don't touch me, you bunch of thugs! Fuck you, bitch!
Fucking white ass.
Whoa! Who did? That guy in the red? Yeah, right behind this guy. You ran over my foot!
Piece of shit! You fucking losers!
You ran over my foot!
Fucking stupid niggas!
You guys, keep moving!
Fucking dumbass fucking niggas!
And this guy right
Y'all
now.
gonna be on the news. Y'all gonna make the news.
That's fine.
All right.
Hey, fucking idiots! Y'all stupid niggas! Listen, you stupid niggers! Put that gun to my head, stupid bitch!
Oh, man. What's your deal? What's your deal? Why is your chin further back than the rest of your face?
Why are you an asshole?
Huh?
Why are you being an asshole?
Why am I being an asshole?
Yeah, you just come over here.
You are what you eat, sir.
Firstly, I'm a woman.
Is that like, huh?
Firstly, I'm a woman. Secondly, you come over here and you just go, hey, why is your chin further back from the rest of your face? You're making a comment about my appearance as someone you just freaking met, and you want to sit there and talk about how I am what I eat? Honey, no.
Okay, first of all, you have something green on the side of your mouth. Are you gonna? But you just got it off though. Skate away. Skate your problems away. I know you're trying to run away, but you can't run away from your own chin. I thought this was my hood.
It's the worst fucking Italian nightmare. I would be the piss at you from one end of this restaurant to the next. You're an asshole. Your mom should be so happy you raised a dick. Fuck you.
Darkness, bitch.
Whatever.
Darkness.
Film me. Put it in public.
Call my mom and bitch again.
Darkness, nigga.
Umbrella. She's up. Whole nother level of shit you can't even understand.
What is good, my people? We are live back again with another episode of The Forecast. Now, as a community, we really need to start teaching our children at a young age about the surroundings they are in. We need to teach them how to defend themselves. We live in a society where people will start trouble with you and then play victim and call the police on you. A lot of people love to say how we play the victim, but nobody plays the victim better than them. And some people that want to hurt you but know they can't do it themselves will harass you in public. It doesn't matter where you are. And then the moment you respond, they start crying and then they go call the police. Sometimes they'll even lie and say you have a gun or something. But in most cases, the very first thing they go to is, are you threatening my life? And they use that to justify whatever harm comes to you after that. And more times than not, when the police show up, they stay right on code with the rest of the dominant society. It doesn't matter if you're an elder. It doesn't matter if you're a kid. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor. You could be fresh out of college or fresh out of jail. They see us all the same. In California, a 19-year-old brother, Kendric McDade, who was a college student that played football, and even though he was unarmed, he still got shot 8 times by Pasadena Police. So let's see how this young brother, Kendric McDade, ended up getting shot so many times by the police.
Prosecutors in Pasadena, California say a man who called 911 to report a robbery could now face charges of involuntary manslaughter. Oscar Carrillo called 911 Saturday to report that his computer and backpack had been stolen. He insisted the thieves were armed.
911, what are you reporting?
Hey, man, you guys just stole my backpack and put a gun on my face right now?
Do you remember anything about the gun?
Both have a gun, man. They took the gun and run away from me.
So both had a gun?
Yes, I know. Both they have a gun.
Police were looking for armed suspects when they found 2 fitting their description. The officers say they shot 19-year-old college student Kendric McDade when he reached for something in his waistband.
Unfortunately, the officer believed that this individual was going to shoot him, and he took what he felt was life-saving measure and opened fire and shot Mr. McDade. It's tragic.
McDade, who was killed, was not armed. According to Pasadena's police chief, the robbery victim, Carrillo, later admitted that there was no gun. Carrillo allegedly claimed he had made up the details so police would act more quickly.
But if you report a crime and it turns out that that crime did not occur, we're talking about the gun, and a terrible situation occurs, such as killing of the death of Mr. McDade, then you are partly responsible for that. We didn't pick that out of thin air. That's the law.
A lawyer for McDade's family is calling for a thorough investigation.
I have an issue with the Pasadena Police Department doing their own internal affairs investigation, because there is a potential for someone to say they're covering for their own.
Carrillo was arrested for investigation of involuntary manslaughter, but authorities have not decided whether to charge him formally. The juvenile who was with McDade has been charged in connection with a robbery.
So an illegal immigrant, Oscar Carrillo, called 911 and said this brother Kendrick McDade and another 17-year-old brother robbed him of his laptop. And not only did he say one of them had a gun, he said they both had guns. When the police got there, they said they saw these two brothers walking down the street and they fit the description, which they didn't because neither of them were armed. But the police said they took off running. Officer Mathew Griffin said he sped past him in his car to cut him off. Then he said as he started to run past his car, out of nowhere, he just turned and started running right to the cops. The cop, Mathew Griffin, said, "He scared the crap out of me. I don't know why he started running towards me, but maybe it's because you drove in front of him trying to cut him off." Now, the cop said he thought he had a gun and it looked like he kept reaching for his waistband. So, fearing for his life, this cop, Mathew Griffin, fired 4 times through the driver's side window of his car while he ducked down, dodging imaginary bullets. He claimed he heard 2 shots and thought this brother was shooting back. His partner, Officer Jeffery Newlen, who had been chasing on foot, said he saw this brother Kendrick McDade go towards the back of the car and crouch down. Now, that's probably because he just got shot, but he said he heard those 2 shots and thought he was shooting at his partner. So then he fired 4 or 5 times himself. Now, it turns out this brother didn't have a gun at all. All he had in his pocket was a cell phone. So I don't know where all these shots the cops here are coming from. The guy that called 911 in the first place, Oscar Carrillo, admitted that he lied and they didn't have a gun at all. He only said it so the police would come faster. And even though the guy got caught lying about the gun in the first place, the police still say they believe him about the robbery and the student was a thief, even though they never found this laptop or backpack that was supposed to be stolen. Now, at first, they were going to charge the guy that called 911, Oscar Carrillo, for making a false police report that led to the death of this young brother. And even though the police have no problem charging a 16-year-old girl with the murder the police committed themselves, they probably realized that'll open up Pandora's box against all these people that called 911. So they dropped the charges. Of course, they didn't charge the police, the only person that was charged for this alleged robbery.
Tonight, the independent investigation is now underway in the killing of Kendric McDade. He is the 19-year-old who was shot to death 2 weeks ago by police in Pasadena. NBC4's Beverly White is live for us in Pasadena tonight with the latest. Bev?
Well, Chuck, the lawyer for Kendrick McDade's family responded with what took so long when told the police had invited the FBI and the Office of Independent Review to take a look. Tonight, we've confirmed the feds are looking into possible civil rights violations. Summit and Orange Grove is all quiet since March 24th, when police on a 911 armed robbery call shot and killed 19-year-old Kendrick McDade, who was later found to have been unarmed. By request of Pasadena's police chief, veteran investigators with the Office of Independent Review are now looking into what happened and why.
Timeline hard to know. Our timeline is impacted a lot by how long it takes the department to complete its detective investigation and a lot of other factors that make it difficult for us to know. I think the last review that we did took about 9 months, but we hopefully will get that done before a 9-month period.
Police booked 911 caller Oscar Carrillo for involuntary manslaughter, saying he lied about being robbed at gunpoint, but the DA declined to press charges. Late today, Pasadena's chief also asked the FBI to investigate the case, but community activists say Pasadena police must do the right thing.
To make a very serious, objective investigation, to get to the bottom of it, not to scapegoat Oscar Carrillo, who's an undocumented immigrant who called 911, which is very unfortunate that he did that.
As for McDade's killing, questions persist as to why one of the Pasadena officers fired from inside his patrol car. Consultants say that so-called tactic will be scrutinized.
In the course of 10 years, we've looked at close to 500 shootings, and while it's a little bit rare, it is certainly something we've seen before.
McDade's funeral has been set for Saturday at 10 a.m. at Metropolitan Baptist Church on North Fair Oaks, and the public viewing is tomorrow night from 4 to 7 p.m. at the mortuary right across the street. Reporting live in Pasadena, I'm Beverly White, NBC4 News.
Now, evidence shows one of these cops shot this brother while he was already down on the ground. Then, as he's bleeding out after being shot 7 or 8 times, they put him in handcuffs. But the police, in charge of investigating themselves, put Officer Keith Gomez in charge of the investigation, even though he has a history himself. In 2006, he was accused of intimidating a suspect and witnesses, and he was accused of manufacturing evidence in a murder case. Kendrick McDade family named him in a lawsuit, saying he's been directly responsible for the deaths of multiple black men. And now they chose him to investigate this case.
Carrie Harper, the attorney for the family of Kendrick McDade, the 19-year-old former Azusa High School football standout who was shot and killed by Pasadena police officers Mathew Griffin and Jeffery Newlen, has filed a federal lawsuit against the city of Pasadena. In the lawsuit are the alleged eyewitness accounts of bystanders who claim they saw what happened the night of the incident. The lawsuit, filed on Tuesday, April 3rd, claims the wrongful death and civil rights violations of Kendrick McDade. Harper states in the lawsuit that the officers involved in the shooting, Mathew Griffin and Jeffery Newlen, intentionally, negligently, and recklessly assaulted, battered, and shot McDade, depriving him of his life without due process of the law. Also in the suit are the alleged accounts of bystanders who say that Newlen and Griffin did not identify themselves as officers, nor did they command McDade to stop, freeze, or halt. Accounts go on to say that McDade did not die immediately after the shooting, and that the officers handcuffed the teenager while he laid on the ground twitching. We reached the Pasadena PD, who had no comment about the lawsuit, but in a press release sent out on April 5th, Chief Sanchez has requested the FBI to conduct an independent review into the officer-involved shooting death of McDade. In the release, he is quoted in saying that the FBI offers another level of independent review. As of this report, no word has been made about how much monetary compensation McDade's family is seeking in their lawsuit. Carrie Harper says in the lawsuit that the methods used by the Pasadena PD in regards to the shooting are just the latest in what she terms a pattern and practice of covering up excessive force. She says that the Pasadena PD has suppressed information, specifically the alleged statement Oscar Carrillo made to Detective Keith Gomez, one of the officers named in the lawsuit, that he had prior knowledge of the minor who accompanied McDade that night, and that he had, quote, a grudge of them.
Now, this is interesting. So the independent review is really, has been ordered by a judge to be locked to the public. And I know a lot of people, especially, people in the community are wondering, well, why is this?
It just, again, it's one of those things which it doesn't build the trust. I feel like, even if there was a situation, obviously the officers have been cleared, which, without the background information as to what led to the clearings and all of that, it doesn't make you feel good about what's in that report. And it could be, people could back their report,
well,
but we
the official
don't know.
word is that there's sensitive information, personal information related to the parties that were involved that the public should not know.
Okay, well, let's just deal with those small sections. Why does the whole report have to be blocked? I don't understand that part.
There is an edit button, isn't there? You can definitely, or
the redacting. Let's get the Sharpie out and just, that can be understandable. We don't know what officer information is on there, but to just, just block the whole report. Now there is a preliminary injunction to, on September 23rd in the court to, see if this can be unblocked. But, I know that Joe Brown had really talked, former president of the NAACP, had talked about this is when people need to be out there and be vocal.
I'm just wondering, it seems like everything's pretty much said and done. What good would it be to kind of put this out there? I'm wondering out loud, actually.
Well, because people need to know what changes have been made, what changes were recommended, what changes need to be made, what is the police force doing with this. I know Chief Sanchez has been very clear that, he will take the necessary steps for reform, but the public should be aware of this.
And it just goes into what he always talks about with the community involvement.
Of course, after investigating themselves, the DA, Deborah Delport, And the police chief, Philip Sanchez, justified the shooting, calling it lawful and saying the cops acted within policy. But of course, police refused to release details of the case and chose not to release the police report or even explain why they were cleared. You just have to take their word for it. Then a judge, James Chalfant, ordered that the police report be sealed. Now they sealed them to hide the cops' name and to hide whatever record they had and to do whatever they could to protect them. Eventually, they were forced to release it with redactions, even though the police union did everything they could to try to stop it, because it shows so many contradictions in the cop's story. Even the people investigating said they made many tactical errors, like the cop Mathew Griffin. If he was so concerned about the position he was in, then why would you drive through the alley to put yourself in a vulnerable position? He tried to pull his gun from his holster while he was driving and crashed his car. Police policy said they prefer cops to stay together during foot chases. But Officer Jeffery Newlen took affirmative steps to separate himself from his partner and made it worse by not telling his partner what he was doing. Neither one of them reported they were chasing a robbery suspect nor that that person was armed. They also didn't cut their lights or sirens on, which automatically activates a dash camera, which is against policy and is a problem. Even the way the cop Mathew Griffin tried to pin him in was against policy. But at the end of the day, they face no punishment. They're still out there patrolling. This guy that called 911 is still living his life. And they say the cops weren't disciplined because they did not violate policy. This is why we have to protect ourselves. We have to realize we don't have any friends. We can't cater for other groups. How are we going to help other people when we need to help ourselves? And these other groups who we think are friends could turn on you in a heartbeat. A lot of people in these other groups think they are a part of the dominant society or try to be a part of the dominant society. And the way to get into the dominant society in America has always been come after us. If we don't put our tribalism, our religious beliefs, our political beliefs, whatever personal issues we have to decide to do what we got to do, then we're going to continue to get the same results. The same thing is going to happen over and over and over again.
Step out of the vehicle.
So why he reaching for his
And he
gun?
said, look, this is a traffic stop. I don't have to get out. I don't have to get out my car. Listen, she telling you it's just a traffic stop. She telling you it's just a traffic stop. It's being recorded. Your obstruction is being recorded. Step out of the vehicle now. Huh? What am I getting out my car for? Because it was a traffic stop. Last time before I break the window. And then what? You're not searching my car. Step out of the vehicle now. You're arrested. One moment, sir. Listen, you're operating in the capacity of an Uber. You need to step out of the I'm not Ubering. This is my family. This is a traffic stop. That's my girlfriend and that's my baby in the back. Right now. Step out of the vehicle. Y'all not searching my car. Step out of the vehicle. Y'all not illegally searching me. What am I stepping out of my car for? Traffic stop. You don't step out when you got license and insurance. Sir, step out of the vehicle. You don't step out of your car when you got license and insurance. Period. You're not going to jail, but you will go to jail if you obstruct us. Just step out the door. All right, I'm going to step out. Y'all not searching my car. I'm not giving nobody permission to do shit. I'm stepping out.
Just lock the door behind you. Can you close the door?
What's that?
Can you close the door?
No, I'm going to keep it open for right now.
I have a child in here. That's why I'm basically close the door.
I understand.
Can I speak to someone else?
You know what? Hold up.
You have.
I'll shut the door.
Hey, get him down! He has a gun! He has a gun! Stay down! Stay down! Stay down! Stay down! Stay down! He's got a gun! He's got a gun! He's got a gun!
You fucking stay here! Find the other one! He went running that way!
fucking camera. Oh my God.
I can't breathe.
You'll be fine. He's got a gun in his
You can breathe.
He's got a gun in his waistband.
I got you. I already see it. You reach for that, I swear to God you will regret it.
You understand? You do not move.
Rolling towards you. Where's the gun?
Where is it?
Tell me where it is.
The gun?
He had it flying like towards me, and when he jumped the fence, I shot.
Check
He didn't shoot, but he had it like at me as he came out the window.
Who shot?
I did. Just me.
Stay cool.
You guys have been problems since you got in here. Problems since you got in here. You want to separate yourself, you go in and they stay here. But I'm not. She's out. She's out of here. She's out of here. Everybody's out of here. You guys are all out of here. Take your ride.
See how they treat our kids?
Take your ride. Get out of here.
We're out here, they call them animals.
Yeah,
they call our children animals.
Like an animal.
They call our children animals. They're doing the very same thing that the rest of these kids are doing in here. They just called our children animals. It's raining out here. It's cold out here. These kids have paid their own money. These kids paid their money to come in here too.
Listen,
and they're being persecuted.
So you have to leave.
They're being persecuted just as well. I paid my money.
No,
I'm not going anywhere. My kids are in there. I'm not paying. I'm not going anywhere.
Get off
I didn't
premises.
trespass anything. I didn't do anything wrong. You better not touch me. I'm watching this guy. Look at this guy. Don't touch me. You better not touch me. I have not broken any laws. Get off of me. Get off of me. You see this guy? Get off of me. What are you doing? Look at this guy. You are not. I didn't do anything to him. I didn't attack you. You want to let this man do this to me? And you know I wasn't wrong?
Resisting arrest.
Resisting arrest for what?
Give me your other hand.
Look at him.
Give me your other hand.
I didn't break any laws. Get off.
Sí, ya lo pasaron.
Yo pensé que le había tocado.
No, no, le dio con el taser.
We begin with video just released of a rough arrest that led to legal trouble for a Miami-Dade police officer.
The video shows that officer kicking a teen in the head when he was already down and handcuffed. Let's go to Local 10 News reporter Christian De La Rosa live to show us. Christian.
Well, and this cell phone video was shot by bystanders just off of Northwest 57th Avenue north of Miami Lakes. Take a look. It's the video the state attorney's office says shows a Miami-Dade police officer kicking a teenager while in handcuffs. The alleged abuse of force followed a traffic stop back in February. 17-year-old David Brown was wanted in connection with a burglary case. The officer seen kicking the teen, identified as Sergeant Gustavo de los Rios, was suspended with pay after witnesses shared this video with authorities. Prior to what we see in the clip, Brown reportedly got into a physical altercation with officers who tried to stun the teen suspect with a taser but were unsuccessful. Brown, who wasn't seriously injured, was charged with battery on law enforcement officers.
Obviously, I don't know if it was racism.
David Brown's father spoke to Local 10 News back in August.
Maybe he just feel like he got power.
Miami-Dade Police Director Juan Perez stressed his department has been cooperating with the investigation involving Sergeant De Los Rios, saying in part, his actions are disappointing and do not reflect our agency's core values. I assure our community that all allegations of misconduct involving our personnel will be vigorously investigated. No one is above the law. And the state attorney's office is charging Sergeant De Los Rios with misdemeanor battery. He has pled not guilty as he awaits trial. The Miami-Dade Police Department tells us he is currently on desk duty.
You have too much! That's paint! Not face! I am a Negro.
The derogatory video of a University of Oklahoma student in blackface with her friend included a racial slur using the N-word. Today, as discussed, spread across campus, the university president said both students withdrew from school.
This type of behavior is not welcome here and is condemned in the strongest terms by me and by our university.
With the Tri-Delta sorority condemning what they call the racist, offensive, and disgraceful conduct of the women, tonight the organization says their member is out. The university says both students have apologized.
It doesn't make sense to me as a human being why they would think that kind of behavior is okay.
The outrage at OU comes 4 years after the Sigma Alpha Epsilon fraternity was shut down for this racially charged incident on a bus. 2 students were expelled then.
This kind of thing happens a lot on campus. Honestly, it's more frequent than people think.
Tonight on this Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, some at OU call this a sad reminder of where we are and how much further the school and nation has to go.
Face painted black again. I guess President got these messages and I go through. Again.
Less than 1 week after a blackface video went viral, a second video has surfaced shot near the OU campus. This time a female student follows the man and records him as he strolls around Campus Corner.
Our Bonnie Campo spoke with that woman. Bonnie joins us live tonight from campus. Bonnie?
Well, it's been 5 days since the initial blackface video surfaced at a sorority house involving 2 students. Today it was a man walking in plain sight.
Face painted black again. Either I could have walked away and was like, okay, it's cool. Or I can actually make a difference, like, you gotta stand for something.
Ashante Winston says as a campus and community, OU has to do better.
Yesterday, the rally, there was a lot going on, but it's like, how can we really come to a common ground and hear each other out when we have ignorance walking around this campus?
President Gallagly held a news conference to address actions taken against 2 sophomore students who withdrew from the school after one was caught on camera wearing blackface. Following today's blackface sighting, the school says OUPD is working to ensure all on campus are safe. A free speech advocate reminds others that long ago the Supreme Court ruled censorship is not the answer.
It's not illegal to say words that are simply offensive to other people or to walk around in blackface. People have a First Amendment right to be stupid. I know it's hateful. I understand that. I understand it hurts people.
Many students say these actions cannot be tolerated. They want the school to take action.
I could have acted out the way I wanted to. I could have done a lot of things to that boy. I don't know who he is. But I do represent a much bigger body, and we are one, and we stand together as family.
Now, we have learned there will be 2 rallies held tomorrow, one held for students who say their voices are still unheard, and one in support of the president.
I'm sick and tired of white people setting the standard for our children. Benson High School, the little racists had white adults decide to put out a paper dealing with the N-word. White adults, white children are the ones on the paper and decided to do this. And it come up with the conclusion that if you put A on the end of the word, instead of ER, it's a term of endearment. These white people are talking about this word that is the most degrading, insulting word that can be used for us. The World Herald praised them. White people praise them. They say these white students have courage. If I use profanity, you'd hear me use it on the floor this morning. But I'm not like white people. I won't do that. But they're going to get some of these white kids hurt. You use that word with an A or an ER, and I would tell any black child, bust him in the mouth. Knock his teeth out. Teach him what these white people will not teach them. You're going to have these white people in a school predominantly black with predominantly white teachers teaching these white children that it's all right to use that word, that it can be cleaned up. You clean up manure by spraying perfume on it, and then I'll tell you can clean up these words. That's what white people do. Then they want to tell me I shouldn't be offended. They're not the ones to determine what insulting things are all right for our children. Now, if somebody in here had a child who's in special education and I ridicule that child, that person would be offended and outraged. But when it comes to our children, it does not count. White people know. And this little white girl who is the editor of the paper is saying, well, we did just what we wanted to do. We wanted to have discussion. Well, in one of the elementary schools, a white boy called a black child that word with an A on the end of it and said, you have to let me call you that because it's all right. Well, that child didn't hit him back. He called him white trailer trash peckerwood. And he was sent to the office and told, we don't allow name calling here, but nothing was said to the white child. And then when this black child, who is insulted, hits that white child in the mouth, the black child is expelled. You all create impossible conditions for our children. Do it among the adults so that an adult can test it on me. Use that word with me and let me give a whipping or take a whipping. But don't put my child in a classroom setting and these white people are going to decide that it's all right to play with that word. This is not playtime when you deal with that word. This is a dangerous game you're putting those little racists in.
1 minute.
You're starting them out young and telling them, you be just like me. And we're not going to teach people that this language is inappropriate. We're going to teach you that it is all right. And tell these black children, you have to accept it because white people own you. And when the black parents were outraged, the World Herald didn't talk about that. They talked about how outraged these white people got when the principal was put on paid leave. And because white people got upset, they brought her back. But what about our feelings? The feelings of our children who go to these schools controlled by white people. Then that education committee thinks they're going to get a bill through this legislature that leaves everything as it is. Well, as long as I have breath in my body and I'm a member of this legislature, I will fight that bill. And if you get 33 votes, I will fight every other bill. And you need to know where things are. And the only way you know is if I tell you. Why don't they do that to me? I can defend myself.
Time, Senator.
And I will. But our children, I'll die and go to hell 10 times for our children.